Okay, so this video is about completing the 3-year LO summary portion of the LPNR, a Learning Plan and Reflections document at Winter Reflections time. If you click on one of the learning area tabs down along the bottom, below the LP sections you will see the LO summary section. So for this learner who's age 13, the LC here has completed their assessments for the LOs based on what they've tracked in their weekly LO assessment document. For this term, for Winter Reflections, we are not completing the Not Yet Within Expectations column on any LO summary section. So if you have a learner who has not attended to an LO yet, like this here, you leave it blank. You only put Win14 in the minimally meeting, fully meeting, or exceeding column. In this way, we can leave these open. We can demonstrate that the learner has not yet attended to these LOs, not that they're not within expectations, but they just simply haven't covered them yet, and that is the way we're going to handle that at this Winter Reflections. We will, at Spring Reflections, have to look at each and every LO, but for now, we're just going to do that. So, the guidelines are specific. There's specific situations and that the guidelines cover. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to talk about how to get the data from your weekly LO assessments into your 3-year LO summary on the official document. Let's go to Numeracy here to be on the same tab. So I'm going to use my son as an example. I've been tracking and assessing LOs on a weekly basis, and I have the week numbers here for what he's been doing. Now, in December, mid-December, there was a conversation at the LC conference, and where LCs were able to, instead of choosing minimally, fully, or exceeding on a weekly basis, you were able just to put your week number in the Not Yet Within Expectations column, and that would help you to know that that LO had been touched upon, and then you could make the assessment of minimally, fully, or exceeding at seasonal reflections times. So if you choose that method, then the copy and paste I'm about to do may or may not work for you. You'll have to play with that and see if that will work for you. But if you've been doing as it has been the method established from the beginning of the year, where at each week you track your learning learning indicators and your week numbers, and then you tie them to the learning outcomes in the performance standards columns. Then you'll have a bunch of week numbers in here, which you can then use to fill out this section of the learning outcome of the 3-year LO summary. So this learner is 8, so I'm going to go to the 8-year-old category. What I'm going to do to make this easy peasy, I'm going to click and drag down all those 4 columns. I guess I don't need the Not Yet Within, but so I know that I started in the top corner, I'm going to include them here. So I just copied, and the way I copy it in Google Docs is with my keyboard. So you either press Control C or Command C. Control C is for the PC, Command C is for the Macintosh. So I'm going to press Command C, and then I'm going to go to my LO summary, and I'm going to go to that very top corner under the same age number. See, I started there, so I'm going to start here. I'm not going to click. If you double click, you get that little cursor. You don't want that in this case. What you just want is one click in that cell to highlight it, make a blue box around it, and then you're going to paste using keyboard. So either Control V on a PC or Command V on your Mac, and voila, there are the numbers. So that's the first step. Now I'm going to look just at this. I'm just going to hide this for a minute so we don't have to think about it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through, and every time I see numbers, I'm going to make sure that I agree with the assessment I made there, and I'm going to type Win14. Now I'm going to copy that so I don't have to type it every time. And every time I see those numbers, I'm going to paste Win14. Now, here's one where the learner has not yet attended to these learning outcomes, and that's okay. I'm just going to leave them blank. Now, in this situation, obviously I'm going to I'm going to put it in fully meeting, because if he's been fully meeting later on in the year, or at some point in the year, that's acceptable. And I'm just going to delete the one for minimally meeting so that there's only one Win 14. I'm not going to put it in both spots, just one. And I'm going to make sure that I hit all the numbers all the way down. There's one, I think, way down here. And there we go. So that is in fact done for age 8. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to double check that there weren't any numbers in any of the other areas, and particularly in numeracy, this learner is not necessarily working at age level in all areas. So I'm just going to make sure. So, okay, so there's only some in age 7. One down here at the bottom. So I'm just going to make sure that I got that. And one at the top. Now, you could do another cut and paste here, and then just where the numbers are, go through and do that. That's the same as we just did in age 8. That's totally acceptable. As long as you haven't added any rows or altered the structure of the LO assessment doc with extra rows, then everything should copy and paste in a lovely way. All right, so that is how you would copy and paste for seasonal reflections. So that's just the numeracy tab. You'll need to do that for each tab, but hopefully it won't be too onerous. Now what I'm going to do on my LO tracking, and this is just my personal method. Now that I've done this, you can do it 2 ways. At this point now, you could highlight the cells, all the cells that have, you could highlight them all a different color so that you know that those ones have been tracked at winter reflections. The other method is that every time I add, now when I'm LO tracking, every time I add something new. So say now after LOs, say it's week 26, and I have something new, and he's now exceeding over here in week 26. I'm going to actually turn this cell red every time I track something, pinks every time I track something new, so that at spring reflections, I have a really quick way to see that this is new, that I've already dealt with this information at winter reflections and everything after is new. So you can either highlight it now when you've completed your winter reflections and then anything new is white, or you could highlight the number after winter reflections. Every time you track, then you highlight that number, and that way then you can know that it's new and it needs to be included on as an update at spring reflections. It's just a method for me to keep track. You can find your own method that works for you. And that is the way that we complete the 3-year LO summary.